Hello viewers. As most of you will know, Marathon Server Slam was active for the weekend, and I'm sure some of you have put at least a handful of hours into the game. I've played around 14 hours so far, most of which was in solo matchmaking, so I wanted to make a quick video detailing my thoughts on the game experience so far. This is my very first experience with Marathon, so everything was fresh and new to me when I loaded in. I'll start with the visual and aesthetic vibe of the game, and right off the bat I can say that the game is really visually impressive and unique. Its art style saw plenty of controversy over the past year or so, but in-game now it looks quite impressive. The atmospheric weather effects and harsh lighting help to dull the rather stark colour schemes of the world, so it's not too intense to look at. But it retains enough of a pop to look unique and interesting. However, there is a distinct gap between what we saw in the trailers and in the game. You remember that cyberpunk Harley Quinn character from the cinematic trailer? In-game she looks more like Pennywise's little sister, but that's probably intentional so she doesn't stick out like a sore thumb in a firefight. As for the performance, I was running at max settings at 2K resolution and pulling 100 to 120 frames pretty much the entire time. However, some of my friends were struggling to pull 70 FPS at 1K resolution on systems similar to mine, so results may vary. Next is the weapon handling, and this is by far the best part of the game. Bungie have nailed the experience of gunplay in Marathon. It's a seamless blend of Destiny's weapon style and feel, with Apex Legends hit registration and punishing time to kill. But I do think the TTK is a little on the faster side, which means whoever gets the first shot off in a fight will likely win that engagement, with little chance for a counterplay. There are 4 ammo types in the game at the moment: light, heavy, volt, and MIPS. Weapon archetypes feel distinct from one another, and similar weapons that use different ammo types also sound and feel distinct. The sight pictures are fairly clear most of the time, though they aren't as crisp or precise as the sight pictures in Destiny. I will say though, I don't like how any of the guns look. It's nice that we have a weapon inspect animation, something I'd love to see in Destiny, since Marathon's guns look more like high-tech Lego pieces, not tools of war. Equipment like grenades, claymores, and ammo crates all have their distinct feel and usage cases, and it will be easy for players to decide what they like to bring into a run based on their roles within the team. Same thing can be said for shield boosts and backpacks, but it's here where the inventory issues start to come in. Inventory and loot is problematic for me in Marathon, and I'm not talking about the amount of space the backpacks have. The game is meant to be played faster than other extraction shooters, with its fast TTK and powerful abilities, but when you open a crate or enemy backpack, it takes a really long time for everything to reveal itself. I know there are ways of increasing loot speed with cores and faction upgrades, but it's fundamentally annoying to wait for loot to spawn in like this. Funnily enough, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds does this far better. Everything on the player and on the ground around him is visible all at once and can be easily dragged or dropped. Marathon's system just feels clunky and heavy by comparison, and I don't like it. And then there's the issue of the UI itself. UI and UX is a difficult thing to get right in any shooter game. Destiny has its fair share of UI problems, but most of these stem from its menu systems, aka the portal. The in-game heads-up display is actually really good, and I can say the same thing for Marathon. The in-game heads-up display is minimalistic and sleek. It displays a lot of information without bombarding the player. You've got your weapon and equipment info on the bottom right, abilities in the bottom center, and health and consumables on the bottom left. In the top right is your contract indicator, and the map is fairly straightforward too, so on this front they've done a brilliant job. But their menu systems for exploring faction contracts and upgrade tracks, building your loadouts, and reading through the codex just feel bland and uninspired across the board. And with how dark everything is, nothing really stands out. It's not complicated by any means, it's just a boring set of menus strung together with little thought for player interaction. The worst part of the UI in Marathon is the loot iconography. In Destiny 2, there are quite literally hundreds of unique weapon and armor icons that all have a text description attached. It can be jarring to read through them, but once you know what a perk does, you only need to see the icon to recognize it. Here's 12 perks from Destiny. I'll give you 5 seconds to take a look. Most of you who play Destiny regularly will know what almost all of them are just at a glance. This is one of Destiny's biggest strengths in UI design, and Marathon seems to have learned nothing from it. Weapon and core mods all have similar, or in some cases identical icons, meaning you have to read the text descriptions to know what they do, and that takes time, something you just don't have in a game as punishing as Marathon. I really hope they make some major changes in this space, because it actively hurts the experience to have such poor iconography. In terms of the UX and sound effects, the game's audio is incredibly rich and clear, but the issue is that everything is mixed so well that it can be difficult to distinguish certain sounds. Thankfully, enemy gunshots and footsteps seem to be louder than everything else, so it's not going to be a major issue for competitiveness. The game's audio is just busy, for a lack of a better word. Enemy AI in this game is incredibly aggressive. I would not be surprised if their AI was modeled on heat maps of player movement during early playtests. They will use the environment, they will use their abilities and equipment, they will flank you. They'll hunt you down, kill you, and even if you are revivable, they will find you crawling on the ground and suck the life out of you. If the goal was to make the game world feel dangerous, the UESC commandos and troops accomplished that, especially if you're playing solo. I don't really have much else to say about them. I hope there will be a greater variety as we move forward in the content release. Hopefully there'll be some of the alien races from the previous games coming back and not just squads of robots, but from what I've seen so far, it's quite impressive. If Destiny NPC AI was anything like Marathon, nobody would be able to clear day 1 raids. I haven't played any of the previous Marathon games, but from what I've read and seen of them, they seem fascinating and appealing to someone like me. And I am aware that many of the foundational themes and directive choices from Marathon carried over into both Halo and Destiny, so the world has great potential for storytelling. But in a PvP-focused extraction shooter, it will be very difficult to actually tell a compelling story in a way that the player can engage with. So far, we have been getting drip-fed pieces of the story by faction AIs every time we complete a contract. That's fine, but it won't be substantial enough to hook the lore nerds. Even with a raid-like event coming some point in Season 1, this won't be anywhere near the level of what we see in Destiny. Marathon squads are 3 players, not 6, and with multiple competing teams in the raid space, the raids cannot be built with the same kind of team coordination you see in Destiny's raids. And likely the only story beats we will see will come from cinematic cutscenes, text dumps, and ARG events, like we've seen in the past. And I just don't see that being an effective methodology for telling a story, the likes of which Marathon deserves. The final thing I'll talk about are the abilities and the heat system. The abilities for each shell type feel unique and distinct. Some of them carry straight over from Destiny 2. I played all of my time on either the Rook shell or the Destroyer. The Destroyer is literally just a Titan from Destiny. You've got a portable barricade, a tactical thruster, and your super is the hazardous propulsion exotic from Final Shape. And it fucking chunks, man. The Destroyer class deals a large amount of damage, and especially at close range. However, the big barrier to using all of these abilities seamlessly is the heat system. Heat is effectively like inverse stamina. It builds up whenever you sprint, slide, melee, use certain abilities, or get hit with certain damage types. The biggest issue I have with this system is just how oppressively constraining it is in the early game. Within the first 3 to 5 hours, you will be walking more than sprinting because of how fast heat builds up, and that's just not fun. The first 3 hours are where the players need to feel the fun to hook them into the game. And yes, you can upgrade this system with cores and faction rewards, but will players stick around long enough for that to matter? Hardcore players always do, but a game's player base cannot all be die-hard unwashed basement dwellers. Overall, I think Marathon will sustain a niche player base, but I don't think it will compete in any real way with the likes of Arc Raiders. It won't fail either, at least not for the first 6 months. I don't know how long each season will be, so the seasonal reset will help with the burnout for hardcore players, but we'll see what kind of post-launch content the game gets. I already own the game, so I will be playing it when it releases, at least for the first week or two. Anyone who wanted to try it for free will have done so in the Server Slam. Ultimately, if you don't feel the $40 price tag is worth it, then don't buy it. Play something else. Play Helldivers, or Space Marine, or Destiny, or Elden Ring, or Resident Evil. There's dozens of other games out there from big and small developers that are worth your time as a gamer. You don't need to care about hating or loving every game in the news this week. Make your own choices, and remember, this shit is meant to be for fun. Anyway, thank you for watching, and take care.